Hey guys, this is Mr. Nightmare here, and today we'll be reading another chapter of 7 Minutes to Heaven Creepypasta Scenario. Today we'll be reading Le Grini chapter. Before we get started, please hit that like button, comment, subscribe to this channel if you guys want more creepypasta fanfictions out there. Again, like last chapter of Eyeless Jack, Red won't be in this scenario due to the fact that he's in school, and I'm currently recording in an unused classroom at the moment. So, that aside, let's get started. Something warm and soft found its way into my hands. Feeling like it was cloth, it felt like a scarf of some kind. I pulled the long fabric out, trying to keep in order of the objects, not daring to come outside of the hat. Once fully out, I can see it was a red with some black spots randomly painted on it, splattered on it. I could barely hand long thing off the ground. Is someone missing a scarf? In a blur, someone grabbed it from me and wrapped it around his neck. His cat ears flickered in annoyance. He had short black hair, red slitted eyes, and he wore short black coat with red buttons and gloves. He wrapped the scarf tightly around his neck. Who took my scarf? His voice had a French accent to it, even better for me, at least. He looked at me with an accusing glare. His ears went back. I hugged my arm. Hey, don't give her that look. It was Smile who took your scarf. She just happened to pull it out. Splendor stepped in front of me, defending me against guarding against an outburst he might have. He simply patted it before sighing and crossing his arms and shot me a smirk. I'm happy I wouldn't have to scar such a pretty face. I blushed at the comment. He winked at me. Hey, you two, save it for the closet, away from prying eyes. He gestured to Ben and Jeff, who faked offended looks at him. Walking towards the closet, I noticed his tails was swishing back and forth behind him. He noticed I was staring. A light blush tinted his gray face. I mentally awed at him. As Slender closed the door. The sound of two heads banging, smashing together at the same outside, as well as I heard the light faded away. What was that all about? I asked Granny, hoping he could had some insight to Jeff and Ben's sudden interest. It's nothing, he replied in a monotone. Obviously not wanting to talk about it, his tail making a thump sound as it hit the wall, eventually my leg. It would wrap tightly on my leg over and over, like he was nervous. Having had enough of the soft atmosphere, he froze stiffly. Every hair stood on edge. Flipping the air or petting the hair on his tail with a continued petting, making him purr lightly. He began nuzzling my neck such as a cat would do. Taking my hands, I rubbed his silk ears, and the sounds of purring grew even louder. He began to return the affection by kissing my cheek. Good kitty. I rubbed his head. The purr slowly crazed as he looked at me into my eyes. His red ones met my blue ones. His eyes looked fierily unmated in a way. He smiled, a toothy smile. Two sharp canines shone themselves in front for the first time. I do not wish to intrude in your personal space or anything. His words confused until he pushed me against the wall. My legs wrapped around his waist tightly for support. Grin bit my lower lip with his teeth. I opened slightly, just for enough room for him to get in. His tongue was rough with mine. I didn't fight for dominance. From my position, I definitely wasn't in control right now. He had every inch of my mouth in his. I sneaked my fingers through his hair. Grin's hands ghost under my shirt, up my back to my bra strap. He kissed me softly, going down my neck. And he simply licked me, making me shiver short down my spine. His curious tongue made my skin turn a pinkish color. It was like a hickey, but just better in some way. He placed his head on my shoulders, a small bit of his tongue sticking out cutely. I don't think there is a better place for this. He smiled, a cat smile, wrapping parts of his scarf around my neck. The door opened a few seconds later. Alert just on time. He put his arms around my shoulder and led me upstairs and glared at Jeff and Ben as we both made our way up the stairs and into a bedroom. We both purred from the heavenly petting.